Hi, I'm Andy and welcome to COMNground, a place for us to share methods we've learned from decades helping creative teams just like yours to sincerely connect and put real people's voices at the heart of the creative process. In this video, we'll be exploring how to recruit research participants, including defining your scope, building a screener, and how to go about finding people. By the end of this video, my hope is that you have a clear direction on how to plan your recruitment resources and methods. Zooming out for a second, the first thing you'll want to do is create a recruitment plan. I think the most important things that are going to affect your time, energy, and resources are the size and the depth of your study, so it's important to define this up front. A simple formula for research scope that we use is the number of participants times the length of the interview times the number of interview rounds. We then add at least 1-to-1 the amount of time for transcribing the data, sense making and synthesis, and then reporting. For example, a small qualitative study with 6 participants might take an hour per person and 2 interview rounds, meaning 12 hours of data collection and likely another 12, maybe 24 for sense making and reporting. You can also play with this. Say the team wants more people but can't afford more time and resources. Well, you could run 36 20-minute interviews one time with the same resources. But of course, you're going to lack a lot of depth in the study. Beyond depth, you'll want to consider the participant quality, knowing that higher quality participants is going to require a higher incentive, often financially. And lastly, consider how you're going to interview and run the study. On one end, you can run the experiment remotely, while on the other, you can fly your team in to meet people where they are on the ground. All of this affecting, yes, your resources, but also the quality of the experiment. At Common, we really value sincere connection and a deep understanding of people. So all of our studies are typically around 90 minutes or more. We always meet people where they are, and we have a 1-to-2 ratio for data collection to sense making and reporting. We'll also very often trade off the volume of participants to increase the depth of a study. But that also comes from having really high quality people, which brings me to the next part of your plan, your participant screener. A screener is a set of questions that you can use to help search for and narrow down the pool of potential participants for your study. You'll want to start with your archetype and personas that you've already built and begin to frame each attribute that you're seeking as a question. The attributes will always vary per project. You might start your search screening for simple demographics like location, age, gender, ethnicity, family, or their marital status. You'll likely be able to easily find people by groups, communities, categories, or labels that they identify with. Keep in mind to add study suitability to your screener, considering their availability, level of mobility, their communication level, previous study participation, or bias present, like affiliations or sponsorships. Lastly, consider context. A participant might well fit the identity you're seeking, but be at a time in life where they don't fit the motivations of your target, resulting in a different attitude, behavior, or emotion. For your study, remember that it might not only be the target consumer that you want to speak to. At Common, we very often consider recruitment across an array of participants, including firstly consumers, so those likely influenced by trends, and tastemakers, those setting them. We might also look at both current consumers and future consumers, who while younger today will match the profile based on the planned launch date of your project. And secondly, thought leaders, which can be subject matter experts, maybe those working in the topic who can speak to deep experience with these trends or consumers, and luminaries, those who are really shaping the future of the research topic. Once you have your screener, you'll next want to plan your recruitment methods. If time allows, you'll want to start wide and narrow down using your screening questions, whether that's through questionnaire surveys or brief introductory calls. Good practice for us is to typically shoot for 3 times the number of participants that we're looking for in the study. So for example, we might start with 18 people to screen if we plan to land on 6 for the study itself. Try to make the initial screening questions as pointed as possible, often a yes, no, or a numeric range answer to help eliminate people up front. And keep in mind, this is likely the first introduction to these people, so keep things warm and inviting to help to build trust. Next, where do you search for these people and how do you find them? Well, you can start with your own team's network, maybe customer data, communities, or clubs that you have access to. Keep in mind though the bias that this can create in your experiment, but remember at the same time bias is unavoidable. So you just need to decide as a team, where do you draw the line and what attributes are most important for you. Otherwise, a great way to find people is through social networks and online ads. With these methods, it's important to consider your online profile. What does it look like? Who's actually contacting the participant? And how are you messaging them? For example, an ad with a financial incentive will draw a very different quality participant to a custom social message on Instagram from a member of the team. At Common, we always use sources and methods that prioritize trust building and sincere connection. So more often than not, we focus on individual outreach to very hand-selected people, explaining why we want to work with them specifically. Building trust ahead of time makes scheduling time with these participants, meeting timelines, getting into deep conversation, all that much easier later on. When it comes to how you approach them, their willingness to participate is going to come down to the incentive. From my experience, low-quality incentives mean low-quality insights. Typically today, both brands and research agencies do not value research participants highly enough. 50% discount vouchers and $20 incentives don't generate high-quality insights. Again, in Common, we'd always trade volume for quality, so we'd often choose less people and pay them more, ensuring we get very high-quality participants in the study. Keep in mind, as you seek to recruit tastemakers, thought leaders, and luminaries, the reality is their incentive will be less and less tied to monetary value, and it now becomes more about who's reaching out to them, how is the relationship framed up, and what else might motivate them to participate. Wanting to help a friend out, being part of something bigger, or becoming a partner or public face to the project might matter more to them than money itself. And the last component to think about in your recruitment is your own team. Based on who you're going to meet and study, a very often overlooked part of recruitment is ensuring that your team identity and dynamics match the project and the participants that you're meeting. Think about what attributes are required from your team. Do you need specific language skills? Could identity like ethnicity, local experience, life stage, or lifestyle matter across the team to be able to connect with these participants on a deeper level? What bias or current beliefs does your own team have that could actually throw the experiment off? Removing bias and perfectly matching your team to the project, though, will never be 100%. And that's okay. Awareness is key here, and once you know, you can start to plug those gaps by recruiting extra help, which we typically label as fixers and guides. Fixers or guides are very often location-based per the project, and through understanding nascent behavior, they act like a cultural translator and help us to bypass the local veneer and really understand what is going on and being said. The types of people that make great fixers or guides are often local journalists, tour guides, social influencers, students, trend scouts, translators, often local employees of your business or your own network locally. Now, just like the storage of your data over time from different research projects, you can benefit from thinking ahead of time about how to store these participants' contacts and also how you can continue to nurture the relationship with them over time. This is something I rarely see brands and agencies do because of the need to nurture, but the result is often just having to repeat a lengthy and costly recruitment process again at a later date. So instead, think about low-cost ways to nurture. This could be an online group that you continue to share project updates with, or at minimum a database that you create that you can send a newsletter to now and then and tap back into at a later date. If you take anything from this video, focus on defining your scope ahead of time and prioritize quality over quantity. Use a screener to help guide your search for participants, and give thought to your team bio and how you plan to approach and incentivize your research group. In the next videos, we'll be talking about different types of data and tactics to go and collect it. Stay tuned for more. Thanks for watching.